All right, this is live. This is Wednesday, 3/25. This is a story about my sister's family. She had a different dad than I had. She looked at my dad as daddy to her too, because I think her dad died right there close to when she was born, so she never really did see him. But he did have a twin brother. It was Marvis and Garvis. Her dad was Marvis. I got to tell you a little bit about where they lived and everything. Yeah, a little bit about where they lived. From Sullivan, Alabama, coming up, what is that, 278? If you went straight through about and went into Mississippi and go about 2 more miles, and you go right, and it went by a lumber yard, and it went across some railroad tracks, and it was real flat land, had pea gravel, and they lived 2 or 3, 5 miles out that old dirt road. Wasn't nothing out there, nothing. And I always told my kids, because I used to go out there when I was young with them and everything, and I told my kids, I said, if you was visiting them and you heard thunder or anything, you better get out of there, because it flooded. And we went up there. I was just going to show my kids, they didn't live there anymore because, they'd all passed away. But I just wanted to show them where they lived and everything. So we went up there, and it wasn't even storming. It was just kind of a misty rain and everything. We got up there and went across the tracks and was going across this little bridge. It was flooded. And I said, see, I told you. Now, a little bit about their place. Y'all know what a dog trot house is. It's where they got this breezeway in the middle. Well, they had something across the front of it, because they had a whole bunch of dogs. I know it's a dog trot house, but he had like 20 dogs. And he had a screen up in front where they couldn't go in and out there. Now, they used to have a well for their water, but they got yellow fever or something from that well. So they actually started getting their water. There wasn't no water up in there. So they found a stream probably half a mile from their house. They used to go there and get their water. No electricity at this house. None. They cooked on old wood-burning stove. It was just like living back in the 1800s. I mean, they wore dresses way down. If you went up there, I went up there in the 70s, I guess, or maybe even 60s, and you would have thought, yeah, it was probably 60s. You would have thought that you was back in the 1800s. I mean, it was, you just had to see this place, this old dog trot house. Now, Gar has a lot of deer up in there, and Gar used to hunt, and he had like 20 dogs. And they didn't see no traffic or anything on this old pea gravel dirt road. So if you ever went up to their place, these dogs would absolutely be trying to get in the car with you, like Cujo, man. 20 dogs, man. They would jump up on the hood of the car, and their face would be right there on and me as a kid sitting in the back seat, they would be, man, up on the car, on the trunk, on the hood, all around the car, and their mouth would be like, you could see the slobber on the windows and stuff. I mean, they would, and to get in their house, Gar used to have to come out, and he had a fishing pole he kept right there at the front of the thing. You would have to get in a huddle, and Gar would, and this was his dogs. He would take that cane and start swinging it, and y'all would go into the room. He'd shut the screen and everything. And after you got in the house, me as a little boy, you want to play and everything. You don't want to sit there, because it was dark. They still used them lanterns and stuff, and it was still dark in there, and you're a little boy sitting there kind of half dark, you know. And boy, they made some good peach cobbler there, though. There's one time me and my brother, Gar, just happened to be out hunting, so the dogs wasn't there. So me and my brother James, we decided we'd scout around the house. This is the first time we ever been outside their house. We went and found this fence, and we got over the fence and was walking out in the pasture and everything, and I'll be dog if a bull didn't get after us. We had to run and jump over that fence. So that was my sister's family. And that day that I carried my kids up there to show them this, and the road was flooded, I remember there was another way you could get in there on down about 3 or 4 more miles. You turn right and everything. And I never did, you know, I was always riding with them, so I didn't know where they was buried. I've been there a bunch of times. Let me show you that picture right here. It's me and my mother and my brother sitting there. We was at the corner of the cemetery where they's all buried. And I remember they used to have an outhouse right there. I don't think you can see the outhouse. Family, me, younger. It'd be in this younger, I guess. Here it is right here. The very first picture. Wonderful. It was me, my brother, and my mom. We was right there at the cemetery where they was buried. Look at me. But that was at the cemetery. But there used to be a big creek. You had to go down. It was like a big ditch and everything. And there's a lot of snakes up in there. And I'd always want to get down there and play around that creek. And Mother and Daddy wouldn't let me because it was so a lot of snakes down in there. And they had an outhouse. And last time I carried, and what I was going to tell you, we went down there because I remember there used to be another way in there, and I turned up that road and I seen a cemetery. And I said, that looks familiar, because you got all these memories in your head and everything. So we rode out there, and I knew they was right in the corner of that cemetery. So we went out there, and there it was. The old outhouse was still there. The old creek that run by it was still there. Brought back a lot of memories. But that was my sister Marvis. She was named after her daddy, Marvis Dean Latham. She used to be the postmaster at Summerton for 30 years. But she actually looked at my dad as her dad, because that's the only dad she ever knew and everything. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.